I see that the sports commission, TCI Sports Commission, is doing a lot now. But at the end of the day, if they're not getting the support from the public, the community, it's going to be very challenging for them to continue to, do what they're doing or do even more. Because at the end of the day, this community is supporting it. Sports benefits from the public.
Welcome to Pushing Your Peers podcast, the number one podcast in the region for living a progressive and happier life. On this episode, we sit down with none other than Courtney Missick, a former national track star whose journey has come full circle as he transitioned from athlete to coach. From his early beginnings in Grand Turk to competing on the national stage, Courtney's story is one of resilience, faith, and purpose. We'll talk about the mentors who shaped him, the challenges of moving from track to the coaching field, and how he's building a new track club along with Delano Williams and Ken Reeves to inspire the next generation of athletes in the Turks and Caicos Islands. His words remind us that sports can take us around the world and that with God's guidance, everything happens for a reason. Don't forget to like this episode and drop a comment. Sit back, relax, and let's get ready to push some peers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Courtney Missick, former national track star, current national coach, to Pushing Your Peers podcast. Do not forget to comment and like this video. And Courtney,
Yes.
welcome to Pushing Your Peers, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. I've seen you so many mornings on the track.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought you was getting back in shape. I thought you was getting ready, but I was fascinated to learn that you were actually coaching the Long Bay High School, and a part of you being on the track was you, I guess, testing out some of your programs, I would assume.
Yeah.
But we're gonna dive into that. First and foremost, let's talk about your track and field journey. You know, you're one of those athletes who had that talent in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And then you transitioned over to Jamaica to excel that talent. So tell us about, your journey to, being recognized as a prominent star and then making that move to Jamaica.
All right, great. All right, so my journey through athletics, track and field specifically, it started out with training for Inter High. Inter High. I came my first year in high school at Inter High. I think I made the finals in the 100 meter, but unfortunately in high jump I injured my back, so I was out for the rest of the meet. That was very devastating to me because sports became a thing for me and it was popular around that time. Moving on to the next year, I started training with my previous coach, Coach Ali, all year round because I wanted to win. I didn't make the finals. I made the finals, but I came like 7th or 8th in the high. So that wasn't enough for me. So my second year now, when I started training all year round, I think I came first or second. My competitive teammate was Dali Francois. He was dangerous on the track. He was the man at Inter High. Everybody feared him. But all of that made me train harder. All that made me wanted to work harder in the sport. So when you have competition in the sport, it gives you a feeling of, hey, you have something to train towards. You have goals to set that you want to achieve. So, and about life, one thing about life, you're always going to be trying to achieve things. You're always going to feel accomplished when you achieve things, or when you're working towards things. So that's one of the things that got me started in track and field. Now, when I got to third form, I started running impressively. I started gaining a lot of speed, a lot of agility, and those stuff that myself and my coach worked on. It started to blossom in that sense. So when I started to perform better and better, I went to Carifta, my very first Carifta games, and I ran 22.07 in 2014, I believe. Yes, in 2014 I ran 22.07. I came third in my heat, and I think it was 9th overall. I narrowly missed out on the finals because the top 8 only goes to the finals. So that alone sparked another level of inspiration in me, because at the end I started looking at what I could accomplish. Crypto's Caribbean games. I was ranking in the Caribbean ninth overall. So that alone showed me that hey, I'm doing something good. I'm on the right path. Some coaches from Jamaica College, which is my school in Jamaica, they gained interest in me and asked me if I wanted to come and represent for Jamaica College. And I spoke to my mom first. I told them to speak to my mom because they approached me at Inter High first. I told them to speak to my mom, and they did. They told her that they noticed that I'm running impressive times and I'm on par with other Caribbean athletes. Some of the best in the Caribbean at that age. I was about 15 and running 22.0. It was impressive at that time, and ranking in the Caribbean for my age group. So when I got to Jamaica, now I had to sit out a year. I had to sit out my first year at Champs, which I was still ranking. I would be in class two, my first year class two. And the season went well for me. I performed good. I was running impressive times, but I couldn't run at some of the major meets. That was the only issue. My second year now, sorry, I also started running the 100 meter and the 200 meter, and the 400 meter. So I ran like 10. I ran 10.8 my first year in Jamaica. The second year I ran 10.7, 10.7, and then my third year I ran 10.6.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was improving, but it was gradual. What had implemented my development was injuries. So one thing with me, I always struggle to stretching after training sessions. That was my what would I say? Something that I always neglected. Always, no matter no type of talk, I never really listened to my coach in that area because at the end, I finished working out, finished a hard session. All I wanted to do was lay down or just go home and finish my day. So my second year, I was running impressive times in training and everything. Before we got to the season opener, I actually pulled my hamstring. They sent me to all types of hospitals, sports medicine hospitals, and everything to help with rehabilitation. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get back in running. I mean, for the season, for the rest of the season, I was out for the season. Because once you get a hamstring injury, that's sometimes it can be depending on the level. Sometimes it can be a big problem. After that, now my final year, I went to Penn Relays. We placed third at Champs. We placed third in the relays and stuff like that. Still, all throughout that, I was battling with injuries due to my negligence again. But I'm still proud. Still proud of the stuff that I accomplished. I was still running competitively as it relates to running 10 seconds and stuff like that. Still running running 10 seconds competitively. I did a lot of traveling as it relates to sports as well for Turks and Caicos, representing Turks and Caicos at NACA, Commonwealth Games, uh, CAC Juniors, Pan American Games. I've been to all of them. I've gained a lot of experience in those meets as well. But I think majority of my experience was gained when I started working with a track club. That's when I got to university. So when I started attending Michael University, I trained with my previous coach from high school at JC, and then I started to train with Johan Blake's club. That's the second fastest man in the world. So I started to understand the sport more. I started to realize what the sport is about after high school, after when you get to the professional level. When I started running competitively and on a professional level, I realized that there was money in it. So the money started rolling and everything like that, and I got a little sidetracked, I would say, because at the end of I wasn't just doing it for the love and the passion anymore. I was doing it to say how much I can make this, what way I can make that, where I can make that. And then when you start to focus on money, you start to lose the drive. You start to lose focus or sight of the goals. Um, when that happened, now I was also dealing with school. So one thing with me, everybody else in the track club was solely dealing with track and field. They didn't have any school to do, schoolwork to do afterwards. However, I was doing my bachelor's degree, and I had to make a decision whether I focus on the now or focus on my future. I chose my future. So I started paying more attention to my schoolwork, beating the books. So I was in my second to last year, which was my third year in my bachelor's degree. So I had to sacrifice training times and stuff like that when everybody else was training and working and everything. I had to sacrifice my training times and everything and, focus on my education because at the end of the day, the government of Turks and Caicos Islands supported me. I couldn't fail in that area. I'm a person I don't like to fail at what I do. So I had to, put a man head on my shoulders and say, "Hey, I can't run forever. I need to have something to back it." That's what I always tell my athletes. At the end of the day, track and field and or sports in general goes hand in hand with um, education. If you don't have
Yeah.
the sports, you have to have education. If you have both, try balance them as best as possible because at the end of the day, you don't know which one you're going to end up benefiting from. So safe method would be to balance both. Um, yeah. So I felt like I gained a lot of experience as it relates to coaching from the track clubs that I've been a part of. I've worked with Michael Frieda, Johan Blake, Imam Bailey Cole, Gregory Little. Persons,
Wow.
Gregory Little worked with Usain Bolt. He was the assistant coach of Usain Bolt and stuff like that. So being around those persons, they opened up my mind to different aspects of how coaching is done. How persons train, how persons develop. You know, and I realized that, hey, we're lacking that back home. We're lacking in certain areas back home, not due to the coaching potential, because we have capable coaches here. The drive, the students, the youth. The youth doesn't see
Yeah.
the purpose. They don't see the reason why they should be participating in sports. I see that the sports commission, TCI Sports Commission, is doing a lot now, but at the end of the day, if they're not getting the support from the public, the community, it's going to be very challenging for them to continue to, do what they're doing or do even more because at the end of the day, this community is supporting it. Sports benefits from the public. That's one of the main benefits. If the public doesn't see the the importance of it, then it's going to hinder the development overall. So I believe that once I start to once I start to get the public involved by getting the youth involved, then parents and persons would gain interest in watching and supporting the events. So that's what I'm doing now.
Courtney, you have such a fascinating story. I just want to ask one question in regards to your 2207. Did you ever break the 22 barrier?
Yes, yes, I braked it when I was yeah. Yes, I braked it when I was training with the track club. That was when I was in
Okay.
university. I started running 21s, stuff like that. I was improving. I was improving, but at the end, it wasn't enough to say, hey, you can secure a future. That you can do this for the rest of your life. You can, you're doing it to a level whereas you're one of the best in the world. If you're not one of the best in the world, it's not gonna, work out for you as you would want it to be. And that's why I'm also partnering with Delano Williams and Ken Reyes, two other former athletes that gain a lot of success from the sport. They're home here now as well. We wish Ifani Otonye and others were here to, assist us in this movement that we're trying to put forward with the track club that we just started. But we're working with what we got right now, and what we can do right now. So taking baby steps, and hopefully in the future, we branch off and create a more massive, you know, track club and coaching team. Um, so we have Delano
I,
Williams, who everybody knows as TCI's first Olympian. Yeah, Ken Reyes, national record holder in the distance areas. So Delano will be acting as a mentor and, any sort of support that he can give in his free time and everything like that when he's not working with TCI Sports Commission because he's already doing a lot with TCI Sports Commission. Ken Reyes on the other hand, he's a national record holder in distance. He has a wealth of knowledge when it comes on to distance events. So when it comes on to distance events, it's not entirely my area, but I know a lot about distance events because when you're coaching, you have to know a little bit about everything, and that's what I'm actually
everything.
doing right now, being the head coach of the track club. I'm actually studying. I'm actually doing my level one course in world athletics coaching, level one. I'm actually flying out next week to complete that the practical aspect and get my certificates and certifications, and then I'll be recognized worldwide. So that's the next step for me right now,
Yeah.
and making moves. Exactly what you said, pushing my feet.
Amazing. Now, I want to talk about your transition back home to Turks and Caicos. You come home, you do spend some time with the sports commission, and then you go over to Long Bay High School into an already well-structured program and add more value to it, bringing home two championships under your belt. First of all, Tell us about your time with the Sports Commission and some of the things you noticed there as it relates to uh, the support of the community, because you mentioned earlier that it takes this community support and buy-in to get things done. So tell us about that experience with the Sports Commission. They're doing a lot, and I cannot come on the show and bash them, because I've seen firsthand how hard each one of those guys there are working to get sports to where it's at. And I can say that they can do so much, but it has to be other members in the community pulling their weight as well. So I want you to tell us, what more can we do in the community to get sports to that high level?
All right, great. So starting off, Mr. Jared, the director of sports mission, he's doing an amazing job. And I told him that the minute I stepped foot back in Turks and Caicos and started working with PTI sports mission, I love the direction that he's transcending sports and see the improvements from back then. All right, let me just give you an example. Back then, we only had inter high and sports day. Sports day isn't even recognized as a event or a track event. But that's all we had. We had sports day and inter high. Bam. Now we have two development meets. We also have one one other meet that happens in December. We have two development meets now before inter high, which is progress. You understand? It's not entirely ideal for a sporting event. For that only to be hosted for the season for an athlete. However, it's the move in the right direction, and that's where the community comes in. Community isn't given that support to say, all right, hey, this is interesting. Let's support this event. Let's support. Let's go out in our numbers. Let's show the sports mission that hey, this event means a lot. So when you don't have the support from the community, you don't have the attention of the community. So when you don't have the attention, that's gonna play a role on if they're gonna continue to host this event. If the students are gonna see this as interesting, if the students are gonna see this as meaningful. Because at the end, if they don't see it as popular in today's society, if the kids don't see it as popular, they're not gonna come out. They're not gonna feel the need to take part in it. The community can help in that sense by telling the kids, all right, hey, take part in sports, ensuring that they're dropped off in the afternoons or they're in the afternoons training, and so ensure that the parents are coming out to support them and watching their child perform. Because at the end, when the students feel like they are making their parents proud, that goes a long way. It went a long way for me. My mom always made the effort to come to all of my events, and that's what made me work harder as well. So that plays a major role. So the community plays a major role in supporting these events as well as funding. When it comes to funding, support from the community goes a long way. Er- The events aren't cheap to host. Working with the sports commissioner,
Oh,
I see the numbers, I see everything that it takes to pull off these events, and if you don't have the support of the community, it's gonna be hard to ask for fundraising or to ask for donation sponsors and all that stuff, because at the end of the day, they're gonna be like, all right, hey, what's the purpose of this event? Understand? That's the first thing they're gonna ask. What's the purpose of the event? How is this gonna benefit? um what Jared and his team is doing. I saw that he's posting, his posts about his journey through sports. Who he is. That is very inspirational. I commented on a few of them, and I told him how much he meant to sports and what he's doing and everything like that. At the end of the day, he and his team is doing a remarkable job. I saw what they were doing, and problem isn't with them. They're doing all that they can do. The problem isn't with that. The problem is in the field. I was behind the
mm,
barricades before, and I had a meeting with a few of them, and I told them, hey, I need to be inside the barricades, meaning on the field, on the ground, doing the hard work. Because at the end of the day, the work here is done. The work here is being done, but the work on the field and with the kids isn't. Someone needs to be out there, pushing them, because at the end, if we don't have
yes,
them, then we don't have the events. The events are already there. The events are being made. But at the end of the day, the support from the kids isn't there. So what I try to do, I try to go into the school system and push the initiative, make sports great again, make sports popular, make being a part of, a sporting body or being part of an event popular. So when you do that, you start to
Yeah.
gain interest of the youth. If you were out there, a few times during the day, you would see, I would say over 100 kids out there training for track and field. That is an
Yeah.
inspiration to me. Persons also always ask me, how am I doing that? But how you manage out there with all those kids? I'd be like, yo, you know what? I just manage, man. It's frustrating. It's hard being in control of all of those kids. But at the end of the day, I would never turn away not one of them. Because at the end of the day, they have a reason for being there. Even if it's because of friends or their friends being there, I always see a positive side of that because at the end of the day, they could be somewhere else. They could be somewhere else doing something else. But at the end, of the day, when you see a child is making moves in a direction that is positive, you always try to encourage them in that direction or make them know that all right, this is something good. You understand? You can benefit from this. So I started to enlighten them on the benefits of that they can get from track and field, the different sports as well, not just track and field. So basketball. I'm also surrounded in basketball, a little bit of softball, and then uh, swimming as well. So when when whenever I'm out there, it's all about the kids. It's all about what I can do for them, not what they can do for me. I'm just giving back to Turks and Caicos, just as Turks and Caicos did for me. So I'm just basically repaying my debts at the moment.
Now, Courtney, you've done a phenomenal job with the Long Bay High School Hawks, I would call them,
Yeah,
right? They're the
yeah.
Hawks.
1, 2, 3 Hawks.
Listen,
Yeah, yeah.
commentated for the 3 days,
Mm.
the national championships, and it was probably 60 or 70% of it. Hawks win! First place, Long Bay.
Yeah,
And it became a song we constantly sung on air.
yeah,
And everybody keep asking, what are you guys doing at Long Bay High School? How are these guys so dominant? And I want to ask you, you have all this international exposure. You talk about growing up and being mentored by Ali and then going to Jamaica, being in that program, also being inside of Johannes Blake's track club, and then coming back home, having a great mentor in Mr. Jarrett. Now, like you have so much pillars that has built you up to be this phenomenal coach,
yeah.
right? So tell me from a coaching standpoint now, what did you do for the 2 years at Long Bay? Because they won one championship,
Mm.
and we know how hard it is to go
Back to back.
two, but then
Yeah,
three-peat.
yeah.
So something you did or added to whatever success they already had. Tell us about that experience.
All right. So, with coaching, you start off with the fundamentals. You always start off with the fundamentals. A lot of times, you see athletes start to improve. It's not that they are. It's because of the training. It's because of the talent that they have dormant in them. And when you can harness that talent, when you can bring out that talent that they have in them, they start to surprise themselves and they start to gain interest in the sport. Um, what we did from September, all right, what you guys saw on the track was what we were working on from September all the way up to inter high. That's a display of hard work, dedication, and determination of the students themselves. Understand? They were consistent with their training and they reaped the benefits. One of the hardest parts of coaching was for me due to all of the training that we put in and everything. We had multiple athletes that could have done the same thing that you could have seen out there performing the same way. So we have the depth. And when you have the depth now, that's where the problem comes. Because at the end of the day, you then have to choose who
Right.
is going to represent, who is going to perform at, the national inter high. That's the hard part. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to tell a child that, all right, you're good. You've been training all year round. However, you cannot run this event. This person has to do it. You understand?
Mm,
That's gonna be hard. So with Long Bay, they have a lot of talent. A lot of talent. Long Bay is big. It's over 600 kids, and it only goes up to third form. So imagine you only can for inter high you can only select, I think it's 60, 60. Sorry, 30. Sorry, 40 athletes. we can only select 40 athletes from that 600. We all
Wow.
but for the team, we probably have about 200 athletes. 200 athletes. So at the end, when you're only selecting the best of the best, it kind of damps the spirit of the other athletes, the other persons that are out there training, other persons that are out there, working towards the same goals. So what I do initially, I start off with the basics, teaching them the fundamentals, the drills, coordination, working on their weaknesses. So when you start to develop the weaknesses and everything, you then realize that, all right, hey, this athlete can run 100. This athlete is a sprinter. This athlete is a distance person. This athlete can throw. You understand? So when you realize that, you then break them out into different groups, have them training together, working on those specific drills, or pushing them in that specific direction. Mainly I focus on the running part. So we have Coach Purdy focus mainly on the distance and throws. We have Mr. Jacobs as well, who also helps out with in any area that we need. So at the end of the day, when you have persons working together and collaborating, you get to give the students the time and attention that they need, see the errors that they are making in the training sessions. When we give them a program now, so we don't just have them out there doing anything or doing random things. We have them on a structured program, 3-week cycle at a time, and then you get a rest week. After the rest week, you reevaluate and say you reevaluate the program and cater it directly to them to say, all right, hey, this is what they're going to be doing. This is where they're at. This is where the fastest person is at. This is where the slowest person is at. You make the program catering directly to those needs. So with that being said, when you work with the athletes, you see the benefits. You see how they are improving. And we had about three athletes leaving in my first year. Two of them going to my previous school that I went to, Jamaica College. They're doing exceptionally well. One of them ran 48.768 or something like that. 48.68, and they're in the 400 and 1 minute 58 in the 800 at class 2. We have not seen that in a while, especially from Turks and Caicos Islands. We haven't seen that as well. He's ranking internationally. Curfew, he fell short because he gained an injury. That's the thing. Injury plays a big role in sports. But at the end, he's back and recovered now and working towards next year. So looking out for him. His name is Ali Elisu. Looking out to see big things from him next year. You also have Diane's running 11.0, almost breaking the 10 barrier, the 10-second barrier he's 16 right now, at just 16. Looking forward to seeing him breaking the 11-second barrier, running some 10 seconds and everything, being my personal best. I'm looking forward to seeing that. He's also looking forward to being Delano's personal best, which is 10.2. Delano has a national record, for Turks and Caicos and everything. So what we are trying to do is creating that next generation of athletes for Turks and Caicos. Because at the end of the day, we don't want it to stop with just us. We don't want the dedication to the sport and everything stop with just us. We want to see who will be the next up, or who will be the next top athletes for Turks and Caicos. Coach Ford is doing a magnificent job at Clement Howell High with the athletes. He's producing athletes every year, and having them perform at a high level and transitioning from high school to university. So, as a coach, we not only produce athletes, we produce future educators as well. Because at the end, they don't just take part in sports to gain athletic potential. They take part in sports to gain a future. Myself, I never had to pay $1 out of my pocket towards school fee or anything as it relates to my degree or anything like that. And I always tell students that when even if you're not in sports to gain popularity or fame or whatever comes with the sport, you can gain an education, a free education at that.
Yeah.
And I'm a living testament of that. So at the end of the day, as a coach, my job is to provide a doorway. When I see athletes performing at an exceptional level and their schoolwork is on par as well, I create the doors. I know I have links, whereas I can put them onto certain schools or encourage them. Make a few phone calls and talk to a few coaches, get them scholarships to go to those schools. So that's where I come into play. That's where as a coach that you want to see happen for your athletes.
Ladies and gentlemen, please comment and like this video and share your views on track and field development and what you would want to see from Mr. Courtney Missick in the future and his coaching program. And I want to talk about his coaching program
Mm,
now. He, along with the first
mm.
Olympian in Canneries, have launched their track club.
Yes, yes,
I'm so excited, man. I listen when I saw that because, as you know, I have my running club as well,
yes,
the
yes,
Road
yes.
Dogs
Road dogs.
you did. Right? So when I saw you guys did this, it was so beautiful because here's a group of young men who has gone and competed internationally, and they are not on Speak Your Mind TCI or original Speak Your Mind TCI or anonymously on Wilkie Artist bashing, right? They are forming a group or a club to solve a problem nationally. This is what we talk about when we say we want to be the change that we want to see. It's easy to criticize. It's hard to do what these group of gentlemen has done, and they've formed a club. And I know I can tell you from experience how hard it is when you're building the foundational element of whatever you're doing. And I want you to walk us through that and also tell us as a public how we can support you guys.
Right. So the idea of the track club came from myself and Elon Williams. We spoke on many occasions about, having track club. We realized that everywhere in the world you go, or every country that supports track and field, or is mainly involved in track and field at a high level, they have track clubs. We have a few clubs, but they're not as active as we would like. They're not as sorry prioritizing what is actually happening in today's world. So we took the initiative and said, all right, hey, we need to be the change that Turks and Caicos needs. We need to put our best foot forward and do what is needed in Turks and Caicos for the next generation. The track club mainly came into plan when I decided to change um, institutions as well. So as of September, I won't be working with Long Bay High School. I'll still be coaching some of the athletes and working with the athletes and everything. I won't be teaching at Long Bay anymore. I'm moving.
Wow.
Yes, I'm moving over to British West Indies Collegiate, and that mainly came about because I see that there's a lot of work being done in Long Bay already. I've already set a foundation, and helped so much in Long Bay that at the end I see that other work needs to be done other places to create that level of competition. Because at the end, if you only have a Long Bay dominating each year after year, it's gonna get boring. You understand? You have to keep the crowd cheering and entertained if you want the audience. Because I want to cater to the audience and put transcend sports basically in Turks and Caicos. So I decided to go over to British because at the end they have a lot of talent there as well. I've already seen some of the talent. I've already started working with some of the athletes. So there's going to be some big things coming out of British next year as well. So it's not it won't only be Long Bay High School this, Long Bay High School that. Clement Howell, you understand? Gonna have HJ. We have a few coaches over in Grand Turk working with HJ. We have a coach over a very talented coach in South Caicos working with Marjorie Basin High School. We have Mr. Gavi's back in North Caicos. Everyone knows Mr. Gavi. He's very known for producing world class athletes. He produced Dominic Mizik, as well as Wooden Corville and a few others right there in North Caicos. The green plantation, the green machine. So
Great machine.
with that being said, and then here in Provo we have Coach Ford working with Clement Howlett. We had myself and Mr. Pusey working with um, Long Bay High School.
Long.
That's it. That's it. Sorry, Mr. Mari working with Wesley Methodist. But at the end, there wasn't anyone working with British. Some of the athletes came to me, and I worked with them. They came second and third in their events. Second and third in their events. Got a medal. However, that will be increasing next year. Just saying. but but When you have two coaches working in the same, two talented coaches and motivated coaches working in the same department is not exactly needed in the sense. Because at the end of the day, who's working with the other schools? So I saw the opportunity to, move over or take my services to British West Indies Collegiate, whereas it boosts the competition level. So you have someone at British, you have someone at Clement House, you have someone at Long Bay. With that being said, you're going to start the competition level is going to rise a little bit more. You have someone in North Caicos, North Caicos, Grand Turk, and South Caicos. So at the end of the day, when that happens, you're going to have the competition level persons training, knowing that, all right, hey, these persons are training. Persons in Provo are training. The persons in Grand Turk are training. The persons in South Caicos are training. Persons in North Caicos are training. When that happens, everyone starts to train harder. Everyone has goals, starts to set goals that they want to achieve, starts to pay attention to the coaches. The coaches start to have some sort of motivation towards coaching as well, because at the end of the day, they have goals that they want to reach as well. They have athletes that they want to produce or, have running certain times by inter high next year or making the curve to team. That is where passion comes from as it relates to, moving my services. But with the track club now, one coach cannot do everything. One coach cannot do
Yeah.
everything. Mainly at Long Bay, it was just me and Mr. Pusey or myself most of the time. But when that happens, you need the support. One coach cannot govern 100 athletes. One coach cannot govern 20 athletes. So when you have more than one coach assisting you in different areas, that is where the magic happens. Because at the end of the day, you get
Mhm.
that one-on-one opportunity to, speak to athletes, to pay attention to their specific needs and not just a group. So when that happens, you start to enable yourself to cater more to your athletes. And that's what and that's one of the main things that brought myself, Delano, and Ken Race together, because at the end we saw the need for the track club and the need to individualize the specific programs. If we want Turk Higgins to start producing sprinters, distance throwers, all of the above, we have to come together and work as a team. So us working as a team now is just the beginning. We plan on bringing on more coaches in the future once they present out once the opportunity presents itself and everything starts gaining more traction and everything. That is when we're gonna start, branching off into different areas and everything like that. But as of right now, the main goals and everything is just to continue working together, build a strong team, cater to the athletes, prioritize them.
Well, I wish you, Delano, Ken Reeves, and anybody who's assisting this club the tremendous amount of success. I'm looking forward to it growing and expanding. I ain't gotta talk about the consistency component because you should have that down back. You know what it takes to create
Yeah,
greatness
yeah,
and
yeah.
with this. So I ain't gotta touch on that. So I wish you guys as much success as possible with this. I remember one of the big debates coming from the recent and Carifta
Mm.
games was that we weren't bringing back medals, right? So I'm hoping this club would solve that problem
Mhm.
and raise the standard of competitive. Because even if we don't medal, I think what most Turks Islanders would appreciate is us competing at a high level, making the finals, and not being dead last in most of these
Yeah,
heats
yeah.
on
I
national
agree.
television. Even if we don't medal, I think what we want as a country is to see that component
Mm.
and to see that you guys are answering the call. Persons, you're listening in, comment, reach out to Courtney, and see how you can support this program. Well, I don't know what he's looking for. He will tell you when you reach out to him what he needs. Okay, so please reach out to Courtney. Support this amazing track club that they have started. And if you want to see medals in future Carifta games, and there's a birdie that's telling me Carifta is coming to Turks and Caicos very soon. So
Yeah,
if you
that's
want to
good.
see medals at that Carifta games, we gotta start with supporting our this run club. So I wish you guys the best, and we ain't done yet. We still gotta push our peers
Yes, yes, yes.
on push podcast. So, Courtney, any word that begins or words that begins with the letter P that has been transformational to your journey, you now have the opportunity to push your P's.
All right. Say prayer. Prayer is one of the well, the
Okay.
first things that comes to mind. I always believed in God and putting God first in everything I do. You know, Him being in charge of my destiny. Even my philosophy, everything happens for a reason. Comes directly, well, it stems directly from His blessings upon my life and everything that He's done for me in my life. So prayer is my way of giving back and talking to God whenever I need answers or whenever I need someone to talk to. That's my way of communicating with Him. Uh, Otherwise, from that passion as it relates to track club passion now. Sports here in Turks and Caicos is not on the level whereas coaches are have a reason have a major reason for being out there. Majority of the coaches are key teachers, meaning coaching is not their first job. Key teaching is our job. At the end of the day, we make the time to coach the athletes in the afternoons, which isn't a part of our job ideally. But at the end, I see where the government and TCI Sports Commission is now catering to those areas, making it beneficial to persons that are out there, making it more interesting to the persons that are out there with, small stipends and stuff like that, which, goes a long way. Because at the end, you know what, no
Yeah.
one wants to be out in the hot sun for 2 hours for free. You understand? Working with a lot of kids for free. You understand? After working an entire job for the day. Because at the end of the day, when you look at it, every teacher works from 8 to 3 o'clock. Everybody else goes home after that. At the end of the day, coaches, we take the time out, go out to training sessions, coaching sessions, and work with athletes for the remainder of the day. Understand? That takes a lot. That is not something that is just done just like that. Everybody needs support in that area as well. Because at the end, when you're dealing with those type of stuff, you have to have some sort of motivation, some sort of assistance, and a way to say, all right, hey, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm gonna continue doing this. This is how we're gonna continue making this work. So at the end of the day, the sport and everything, and the passion that we have is currently is solely based on what we love about the sport, what we've done in the sport, and how we continue to, benefit in the sport. Um, we we as a team did track and field our entire lives, literally. We eat, sleep track and field growing up in Jamaica, growing up here in Turks and Caicos. That is what our life was about mainly throughout this whole process. So at the end of the day, our passion is what drives us, I would say. It just
Yeah.
drives us and keeps us going day to day, keeps us out there in the afternoons. When we only have maybe 3, 4, 5 athletes, we still are out there, making a difference, making a difference in that child's life, building a future for that child, helping build a future for that child. So at the end of the day, when we do that, that's what, we get in return. That's our thank you in return. Seeing that person benefit just like how we have benefited throughout our life.
I just want to thank you for coming on Pushing Your Piece. This has been a very inspiring and call to action sort of episode. And I'm wishing you the best in everything that you do. Any final words before we close out?
All right. My final words is just come out and support the athletes, not only in their future endeavors, but just give them that support to continue to work towards their goals. Encourage them to take part in sports because sports goes a long way. Can take you around the world. Sports can show them a different side of the world. Sports can give them a future. And parents, if you don't want to have to be paying for your child's school fee or your child's education in the future, let them take part in sports from a very young age. I would recommend from 8 years old up. Let them start to submerge in the sport. Gain that interest in the sport from a young age, so that they will not depart from it. Um, that would be one of my. That's it.
That's it. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Former national athlete, national coach who has transitioned from the Long Bay High School now to the British West Indies.
Yes,
Let me tell you, if I
mainly
can,
because yes, mainly because that my transition was mainly due to me wanting to expand or open up
yeah,
my learning experiences, my teaching experiences as well. Because British West Indies Collegiate it's up to fifth form, so at the end of the at Long Bay it only goes up to third form. So I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over, as it relates to teaching for the basics. With BWIC, I get to teach for an external exam, IGCSEs. So that's another plus as well.
amazing.
Mhm.
And I'm looking to see if he can bring a winning program to the British West Indies because we always would count them out once we see them line up on the
Yes,
track.
yes,
So
I know.
let's,
Different.
let's see what he does, and we are wishing him the best. Go
Yes,
ahead, Court.
yes. Appreciate that,
Yes,
man.
no problem. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week on Pushing Your Peace podcast.